you all for taking the time to come out and participate in Watson's Family Fun Night tonight. My name is Sue Lockman, and I have two of my partners in cooking here tonight with me. This is Jessica and Lindsay McGann. And we all work for the UMass Extension Nutrition Education Program. And we actually may have met a lot of your kids before. Do any of you guys recognize either myself or Miss M coming to visit you in your classroom earlier this year, just before Christmas? Well, we spend a good part of our time working for UMass, visiting all of the elementary schools in Fall River, Taunton, and New Bedford, teaching a 4-week health and nutrition program to kids in grades K to 3. And we base our teachings on My Plate. And I don't know if you've seen some newsletters come home that have the My Plate logo on it, or if you've ever heard your kids mention someone named Jane Grain, or Reggie Veggie, Dean Protein, or Mary Dairy. It's our fault. We are using some really fun ways to get your kids starting to think about how important it is to eat foods from food groups that actually give your body things that they need to grow and to be healthy and strong. And we are going to share just a little bit of that with you tonight, but in the form of showcasing a recipe that I guarantee will be yummy, but it also will be good for you. It will be super easy and quick to prepare, and it will be cost effective as well. And one of the things, though, thinking about what Marcia just said, one of the things that everyone seems to like best about family fun nights is being with family. And one of the times we've actually gotten away from spending much time together as a family has become mealtime. Meal times have become rush sometimes. And a lot of it is just because of life and what we need to accomplish in the course of one day. We need to get the kids off to school, we need to dash to work, we need to run home from work, we need to pick up the kids, we need to get them to the practice or to an activity. And we have a little trivia question for you, and that is, what percentage of meals do you think the average person eats in the car?
5%.
5, I hear 75. Okay, the answer is 20%. Most of us are eating 20% of our meals in the car. We're eating our breakfast on the way to the office, we're feeding the kids in the car on the way to school, meals in the back seat on the way to sports practice. And so tonight, our challenge for all of you is to try to become a little bit more mindful about eating. And maybe to designate, at least as a start, at least one night where everyone will actually enjoy the food that they're eating. Take time to think about what we're eating, how it tastes, you know, how good and yummy it is, how much we're eating, and to turn off TVs that often distract us, cell phones. A lot of us are eating behind a computer, at a desk at work. You know, we're multitasking and we're not really just eating and focusing on how good the food is that we're eating. So we want everyone tonight to try to designate just one day, at least a week, and then if you can get that one in, maybe work it up to 2 days where we don't do anything else but eat together as a family. Okay? So we have a recipe that we want to share with you tonight. And one of the other prevailing things, we love when we can also come out at nights and participate in these family fun nights with you. And we've been doing a lot of them throughout the spring. And our theme this year was to think about the fact that summer 2016, we will be having a Summer Olympics happening in Brazil. And for our recipe choices, we have tried to choose recipes from each continent represented on the Olympic rings. And that recipe focuses on spices used, typical eating habits, traditions in that region. And we chose our favorite for you tonight, which is an African couscous salad. So it comes from the continent of Africa. It represents a style of eating typical of northern Africa. And without further ado, I want Lindsay to show you just how easy it is to make this wonderful couscous salad, which has a wonderful mix
good
of both
transitions to like a different style of food, but I think you guys are gonna like it a lot. It's not spicy at all. A lot of African foods, especially North African foods, are. If you're familiar with it, this is sort of like Sue said, a savory sweet. So we're cooking couscous. Does anybody know what that is? Okay. It is a big fancy name for a type of pasta. So, if you can't find couscous in the store, which I'm going to tell you in a second where you find it, it's pretty easy. You could always use something you got at home that was a pasta, or you could even use rice, another grain. You don't have to use pasta. The one that we got, even though it's pasta, it is found with the rice. So if you're going to try to make this recipe, you can look for it with the rice in the grocery store. You don't have to buy it like this either. You can buy it like a bag and just measure it out. But anyway, it's the easiest pasta you will ever cook. All you do is you bring your liquid to a boil and you dump it in. And you let it sit there for 5 minutes. We'll come back. Now, our recipe is including a little bit of butter. Yes, I know that we're nutrition people and I'm telling you to eat butter. It's only a very small amount. You could always use oil if you wanted to. But you're just going to stick it in there. You give it a stir. Actually, this is like 90% cooked, so you'll check that out in a second. But I'll show you everything else we're doing while that kind of just sits. You literally just take the heat off and that's it. Not like spaghetti where you have to leave it boiling or whatever. You just leave it. So, we have a couple things. Starting with a green onion. If you don't like onions, you don't have to use them, but I think you're going to find a green onion has a really mild flavor. It's not very offensive, so I think you guys will like it. But you want to take off the yicky part at the top. And of course, you can use the bottoms, but they do have a little bit more of like an oniony texture to them, so I cut them off when I use it. And one of the things that I like to tell people is the prettier you make something, the more apt somebody is to eat it. I don't know, say, you know, the tiny people that live in your house. So the prettier you make it, if it looks like a mess, I mean, who's judging you? We're not on Food Network here. But the prettier it looks, the better. So I just slice them on an angle so that they look like all fancy, but who cares? Okay, so you don't cook these, it's just gonna go in raw. This is actually a cold salad. It's great for like a summer barbecue because you can make it in advance and then like you don't have to be all hot in the kitchen when you're out grilling. And it keeps probably for about like a week if you kept it in the fridge. I also have some dried apricots. I think they add a good flavor. They're kind of a mild dried fruit, but if you don't have them, you could use any dried fruit. And I'm going to talk about the other one we have in a second. You could just double that. But it does add a little sweetness that I think you guys will enjoy when you're trying it out. You want to make them small because the couscous is sort of like a tiny, tiny rice. So what they do when they make the couscous is they'll make like a dough like you would for any kind of pasta. And what they did originally in Northern Africa is they rolled the dough in their hand and it came out as these like little tiny pieces, and that's why it's so small when you see it. Okay? So you want it to kind of match. You don't want to have these big hunks of stuff with this little tiny like ricey pasta. I have golden raisins. Guess what? You can use regular raisins. But these are cool. They're fun. An orange. A lot of people have oranges. What I'm going to do is something called supreming an orange. This is especially good for the tiny people in your house because a lot of the tiny people do not like to eat the white stuff that is on the outside. So they kind of, because it's a little bitter, right? So what you do is you cut off the top and the bottom, and then you can just peel all the white stuff off. And you want to save those peels because if you're anything like me, nobody's perfect, and I'm missing a lot. So there's a lot of juice to be had from the sides. You put that right in. We're going to use more orange juice later, but you're going to keep all your little bits. Anyway, from here, what you do is you can see all the lines where the separations are. You're just going to stick your knife in between the separations, and you'll pull out this beautiful piece of orange that has no pith on it. And when you're done, I'll just take a couple of these out to show you. But when you're done with it, you can take the sections and squeeze them out too, the extra pieces of pith. So you're not wasting any of the actual orange, just getting rid of that white stuff. Which, you don't like any of this when I was a kid, I didn't put it in. Alright, so then, our couscous is done. What you want to do is you want to fluff it. You'll see when I have it come out in a second. It's like this pre-cooked, fluffy. This one's a little stuck together because I can't fluff too good. We'll straighten them up. We'll get there. You just put it all together. It's super easy. I'm going to make the dressing that's going to go on it. We got orange juice, extra, a little olive oil. You don't have to use olive oil. We use white wine vinegar. You could use any vinegar that you have, preferably like a sweeter one, like an apple cider vinegar or something you could use. Honey to make it a little bit extra sweet, with our fruits in there. And a little salt and pepper. Ready? Ta-da! Drop that on your couscous. Now, when you try it, right now, it's going to taste a lot better than it will when you make it because it does better after it sits for like an hour or so. We let ours sit overnight, and it tastes way more awesome. But that's it. Now you can save this, like I said, and use it at a summer barbecue. It would be great with like a grilled fish or baked fish or chicken would be really good with this. Or it might be really fun just to go to a summer barbecue and say like, hey, I'm making the pasta salad, but it's a little different. Okay. So you'll see when you guys try it. So at this time, we got about 4 minutes. We'd like to invite you to come up and try it and get a chance to eat it before I have to finish. Sorry, Petra. She was behind me.